This is the solution for the 6SU. The 6SU consists of 4 top crossing bands and then 2 1-2 outside bands. I'll now take the ring apart so you can see what it looks like and how to identify the bands when they're apart. Pretty much the easiest way to identify these bands is you're going to have 2 bands that are going to be by themselves, and these are the outermost bands, and then you're going to have 4 bands that are together. So between these 4 bands you have 2 separate sets of bands, and the easiest way to identify them is by touch. When you feel the top band, topmost band is going to be smooth, and the band that crosses underneath, when you run your finger across it, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but when you run your finger across it, you're going to feel this dimple right here. So now what I want to do is I want to put the 2 outside bands into the correct position for the next step. 2 outside bands have 2 major points. So you can see right now they're facing to each other, but for the next step I need them to be facing opposite each other. So I'm just going to take this band, bring it all the way around, and have them rest against each other. And the other good thing about this is that you can see it's going to make the shape of a diamond. So I know I've got them in the correct position. So now I want to make sure they stay in this position, so I'm going to drop them to the same side. Now this one is sort of a tricky ring because you can see they're already twisted into each other right there. Some of our other puzzles aren't like this, so this one's a little bit different. So what I like to do with this particular ring is I work with the smooth bands, and again you just feel it, in my right hand, and then the dimpled bands are just going to kind of stay stationary. They don't do much, they just kind of stay there. I'm going to work with the ring face down. And this is where some trial and error is needed, because you're not going to know exactly if you have the ring in the right position or not until you get to this point. So all I want to do is, you can see where that dimple is right there. I'm going to take the smooth band, rest it right in the dimple, and then just turn the ring counterclockwise. And you can see it rested really nicely in there. I'm going to repeat that for you so you can see it. So you got the bands separate, they kind of lock into each other. Take the smooth band, turn it counterclockwise. See, maybe this is easier if I do it this way. Turn it counterclockwise, and then it'll rest really nicely in there, and you'll get a nice figure 8. If it's hard or you don't get this nice smoothness, you know you've got it in the wrong position, and you need to try and twist it around into the correct position. So now the next step is pretty easy. These are going to be your last 2 bands, and you want to start with the widest angle. And the way you know you've got the widest angle, you can kind of see right here at this point, that's sort of the end of the angle, and you can see right here, that's the end of this angle right here. So you know this one is the widest angle. So that's the outermost band. So again, I work with it face down, make sure it gets on top of that other band, so it's got to be nice and loose in there. Turn it into the figure 8. Now this point is really big, so I have to let these 2 bands, see how I separated them up there? I have to let them loose so that this space gets bigger. Turn it in, and then it's going to be like a door, a hinge on a door, and it's just going to close. You can see you kind of got to jiggle it a little bit because it's got to get into place. And there you go. You don't want to push it too hard, you don't want to force it, because you can bend the bands. So now I'm going to take the whole ring and I'm just going to turn it around so that this is always when I'm working with the point, I want it always to go to my right, and then I know that I've got it in the right position. So again, I got to let the band really loose here because it's going to make this space big enough for me to put this band into. Turn it in there, let it loose. It's going to feel like it's going to fall apart. Kind of jiggle it in there, and then you can close it. And that's the solution for the 6SU.